There are two sides to every story. Vivid drama of life itself, broadcasting's original program of mediation, the court of human relations. And now the man who has familiarized millions of people with the idea of mediation helped to make it a creative force in American life. A.L. Alexander.
You are now about to witness an actual mediation proceeding with both sides, the actual persons involved, agreeing to abide by the decision. Now, the purpose of this proceeding is to take a situation which has created dissension and conflict and has meaning in the experience of many other people, cut through all other considerations to the basic issue, and determine what is just and reasonable and fair. We welcome our mediators, whom these people have elected to serve as their judges in this matter of controversy. Wise observer of the passing scene, the famed American novelist, Miss Fannie Hurst. Among his many activities in the field of human relations, noted consultant in matters of personal and group adjustment, Dr. Ralph Emerson Davis. And one of our eminent figures in the life and letters of our time, distinguished minister of New York's great Riverside Church, Dr. Robert J. McCracken. Now, Miss Hurst and gentlemen, here is a case that certainly demonstrates some of the tensions of present-day living, and one way or another has deep implications for all of us. It is our earnest hope that the board will be helpful. Here is the complainant.
Mr. Alexander, I have a question I'd like to ask. Shouldn't blood be thicker than water? If a person has a problem, to whom does one turn except one's own? I married at a very early age and apparently put my faith in the wrong man, for my marriage ended in divorce. I have custody of my two small daughters and receive practically nothing towards their support.
Now, specifically, why are you here?
I find myself in a very uncomfortable position with my brother, whom I have always felt very close to. It's particularly trying because our relationship has always been a very happy one.
And what is the situation now?
Well, at the beginning of the year, at the time of my divorce, I found myself in desperate straits, and my brother and his wife offered me the hospitality of their home, which at the time I was reluctant to accept. But because of the situation, I had no choice. Had it been only myself, I probably would have managed, but I did have two children and no father for them, so I accepted.
And now what has happened?
Well, I'm torn between two obligations, my children and the necessity to earn a living, which I have tried to do as a part-time model. Every time that I find I'm on the brink of solving my situation and problem, my brother assumes an attitude that demoralizes me, and he robs me of every sense of security and hope that I have. He makes me feel as if I'm infringing or encroaching on him, and I feel that he will listen to the board. That's why I'm here.
Well, now, suppose we hear from the brother.
Well, Mr. Alexander, I don't believe there's anybody that loves their sister more than I do mine. When I learned of her predicament last January, I immediately discussed the situation with my wife, and we at once, especially in view of the two small children, we volunteered an invitation to my sister to come stay with us for a period of time, a couple of weeks or so, until she gets back on her feet, until she gets herself together. We certainly realized how difficult the situation was for her at that time. Now, since then, the weeks became a month, and then several months, and now it's a matter of 7 months that my sister and the children have been living there. And although I certainly can understand the situation, it's a matter of grave concern under the circumstances, and we feel that something should be done about it.
Did you speak to your sister about this?
Well, yes, I've been speaking to her about it as tactfully as I can. I certainly don't want to hurt her. However, nothing has happened. The difficult thing is the situation as it exists. We have
Is this, if you don't mind me interrupting?
What my brother, I'm sorry, what my brother doesn't seem to understand is that this is a situation that can clear up at any time. He just assumes this attitude which robs me of my security. I can't think clearly. I'm in a position where I have to look well. I cannot look well if I do not feel well. And it just puts us into a further blocking rather than curing.
Yes. Now, I know that the board is sympathetic and understands that point of view, but I think it would be fair to your brother to have him express his side so that the board can judge fairly. Now, we were about to ask you if this were just a monetary consideration.
Certainly not. The financial aspect of it is the least important. It's a matter of complete inconvenience. My sister has 2 small children, very fine, wonderful children. However, 2 small children. We have a small apartment. It's very crowded. I find it impossible, well, I don't mean really impossible, but I hesitate quite strongly to invite friends or business associates to our apartment because of the crowded conditions and because of the situation as it exists. You see, my sister always keeps saying that it can break at any day. She can get a situation changed where she can move. But this has been going on for such a long period of time that I just don't know what to do about it. I certainly don't wish her any harm, and I understand very strongly her feelings, but I also feel that my wife and I are being so terribly inconvenienced, and that's why we're here. We just don't know what to do about it.
And do you feel that the time has come to bring an end to it?
Very frankly, that's exactly how I feel about it, Mr. Alexander. In fact, I hesitate to say this because every time I think of it, I try to drive the thought from my mind. But sometimes I get the impression that my sister has kind of found a good thing there, and she's taking advantage of us. She has a social life that she has to lead, of course. She goes out on business engagements, of course. And my wife and I are continuous babysitters. We're sitting home at night with the 2 kids all the time. And as I say, they're wonderful kids, but they're kids. And I do feel that we're being imposed upon. I just have gotten to that train of thought.
Well, we addressed the complainant. Do you feel, because of this attitude of your brothers, with which you're familiar, that when you go out, as you were saying, and you want to look well and feel well,
This is exactly the problem. If he would only understand that when I go out, he makes it sound as if I go out every night socializing. This is not true. When I go out to try and further my profession, which is modeling. It is necessary to attend certain cocktail parties. This is all a part of the business. I have very little social life, which he knows. My children mean too much to me to waste time away from them. But by this badgering, he gets me to the point that I cannot be myself. I cannot speak to these people as a person. My mind is there. I'm breaking out. My nerves are not what they should be. If only he would have the patience just to let me try to work it out in a mental peace, I think that I could go much further and accomplish much more. But as I said before, every time I'm just feeling as though I can sort of go ahead, I pull myself together. He makes me feel as if I were exactly like he said, taking advantage of him, and he knows that's not true.
Yes, well, I think the issue is clear.
I'm
Dr. Davis.
his sister.
Well, I think it will have to be admitted by all of us that the present arrangement just isn't working out. I would like to feel that a brother and sister in a difficult situation could come together as you've come together and could stay together under the same roof. In this situation, it just hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. It isn't working. I don't believe it's going to work. The present situation is not for the best interests of a single person involved. It's not for the best interests of this sister or the brother's wife, or even of the children. I think that's very obvious, and therefore, as reluctantly as one is to say it, I think that it will be for the best interests of all concerned to terminate this present arrangement. Not only terminate it, but terminate it just as soon as that can practically be worked out. I think that some other living situation should be found that will take care of this sister and her children.
There is no, if there were an out, we wouldn't be here. Where can I go? There's a financial situation. There is no place that I can go.
I feel that's a rather pessimistic and defeatist attitude. You people are very intelligent and very resourceful and very attractive people. And I don't believe for a moment that if all of you will use all of your resources and start out today to find some other arrangement, within a reasonable period of time, I think that you can do it. You may have to have help. You may have to resort to help.
If I may interrupt, Dr. Davis, do you have any specific practical recommendation to make?
I suggest that, number one, it be recognized that this present arrangement will have to be terminated. I suggest also that you give yourselves a kind of a time schedule, that you plan to work out a change, say, within 30 days. Give yourself a month from today to work out a plan and go forward from this moment with the feeling that you've got to do it within 30 days. I would also suggest, and I dare say the brother will not hesitate at all, that until, in the new situation, you become established, he contribute to your financial support. Just how much, that will have to be worked out, but I assume that he will do a generous and a reasonable thing. But I think the important thing is that you decide that from now on, you're going to work out a new situation and that you're going to complete it within a period of 30 days.
Hurst, we have a very grave situation here. There are lives involved, and of course the lives of two little children and their future welfare. And I know the board is taking into consideration all the human aspects of this situation. Do you, Miss Hurst, agree with Dr. Davis' suggestion?
Well, I would like to ask a question. This is a cruel situation, and certainly these people are intelligent and capable of doing a great deal to work it out. You are a model.
Yes.
Now, that is a very precarious and uncertain profession.
Yes.
It varies from day to day.
It's quite true.
Is it essential to you that you carry on in that area when you might get something that has more stability and more continuity? It doesn't have to be a skill, but wouldn't it be a good idea for you, even temporarily, to step out of this area?
May I explain one of the reasons that I find this beneficial? First, I haven't training to go into a well-paying position. Secondly, in modeling, I can devote more time to my children, because when I do work, I make the money that I would be making on another job, let's say in 2 or 3 weeks, I could make in 1 day modeling. So I can devote my time to my children. If I find that I can make, which I'm trying to do now, is to break into the field to the degree that I am making enough money, I can take care of them the way I want to. I can't simply move out. Well, for 2 reasons. One is the fact of what am I going to do with them? If I hire someone to take care of them, and I do take any sort of other work, I won't be able to survive financially. I mean, clerical work, any sort of work of this, cannot pay enough.
Well, I do think that, and I certainly understand your dilemma, that now you are involved in a situation where you are jeopardizing other people's lives. And I think that you are forced to feel that you must make a change. Now, the suggestion has been made, and very aptly, that your brother, who has agreed, can help you financially over a period of time. As to the children, this is an unpleasant thought, but it is not a devastating thought. Your children, we have techniques for taking care of children in very capable ways in this city. If you are earning and your brother is contributing and your children are placed to your satisfaction, which I can personally almost promise you they can be in this area, you have a working scheme to begin. But by all means, I would suggest, and I feel so 100% sure here, that your present situation is not tenable and is destructive from all sides, and your very well-intentioned brother is jeopardizing his home life, the pattern of his existence, and you are unhappy and at odds with the situation. So my strong advice is, or my suggestion rather, that you work out a scheme of life where your own efforts are going to enable you, along with your brother's help, to place your children in another environment, and yourself.
Dr. McCracken, this challenge that mothers have, victims very often of broken marriages and who have helpless children, there is this challenge of having them cared for during the hours they work, and I think it is well known that, as has been suggested here, that the amount of money that it takes to pay professional babysitters, and others are unreliable only because they can't be depended upon to be present when they're needed and consistently, that is really a challenge. Now, everything considered, do you go along with Miss Hurst and Dr. Davis, and what is your view?
Well, I'm, of course, torn in my sympathies. I feel for a woman who has 2 children to take care of, who has a profession that is significant for her, and who wants almost at all costs to establish herself in it. But I feel that after 7 months she has come to terms with reality. Things are happening in her brother's home that ought not to be taking place, and perhaps she would even have to sacrifice her professional future along the line indicated, as it seems to me, by Miss Hurst. And there are facilities in this city that will enable the children to be taken care of. Your brother would make a contribution towards the family income. For the time being, you might have to seek work of another character. In the case of a person like yourself, such work shouldn't be hard to find. And I would think along those practical lines there might be a solution of this acute problem.
We address the brother so that there won't be any misunderstanding about this. In view of the suggestion and consideration of the board, are you willing specifically to give an established amount which shall not be named here and which needs further consideration? Are you willing to give a specific amount each week for a reasonable period of time, certainly until your sister gets over the hill, so to speak? Is that true?
Oh, of course. As I pointed out before, Mr. Alexander, I wish my sister no harm or hardship. I will do everything possible to help her. It was just the crowded conditions that we were concerned with. I don't want my sister to suffer at all.
And Dr. Davis has suggested 1 month. We understand that even though the decision is favorable to yourself by and large, certainly you wouldn't expect her on the strength of that decision to leave forthwith. Would you agree that 30 days from this time she should leave, but in the meantime she has the hospitality of your home?
Yes. Certainly, if there were an established time, as has been pointed out, that would be completely agreeable, whether it's 30 days or any time that we agree upon. But definitely, I would go along with any idea of that kind.
We address the complainant. You accept the decision of this board?
Yes, it's if my brother agrees to what he said he would, I will try to.
Well, you'll not only try, but you've agreed to abide by the
Yes.
decision of the board. We can understand, of course, how disappointed this complainant party is. I think she had the feeling that a board would agree with her in her dilemma. And of course, it's not easy to speak words of comfort where there is disappointment. But the board appears to be very clear on one point, and this, of course, must be recognized, that as long as the brother feels as he does on the basic issue, that is the way it has to be. On the other hand, adjustment is possible, as has been recommended. First, that a specific period, namely a month, should be established as a time during which other plans must be made, that it would be a very kind and helpful thing to do by way of compromise. It has been established if the brother could find it possible to cooperate on some basis financially, and that he has agreed to do for the sake of the children, as well as for the sake of his sister, and to help her out while she's establishing a new life. Now, aside from that, according to this board, it becomes a matter of what this young mother can do, we think, to get adequate support from her husband, and we wonder if all legal sources have been prosecuted there, and of course, when we say her husband, her former husband, and of course there remains her own sense of personal responsibility. We bring another session of the Court of Human Relations to a close and extend our thanks to our mediators. You know, as we think of all the anxieties to which one heart is exposed in this short span of life, we are reminded of the admonition: we pass this way but once. If there is any kindness we can show, or any good that we can do for another human being, let us do it now, and not defer or neglect it, for we pass this way but once. We bring another session of the Court of Human Relations to a close and extend our thanks to our mediators. And talking about this art of living, Dr. McCracken, some years ago I noticed, according to the clock, that we have just another minute or so.